When I was in my 20s, I decided I was going to have like this brutal honesty with myself. And I wrote down all the things about myself that I didn't like, even the ones that I was not really willing to admit to myself. And I wrote them all down, and I thought that was a great exercise. And I folded it up and I put it away, and I thought it was done. But a year later, I came across that piece of paper. And what struck me when I read it was that half of the stuff that was on there was gone. It was just, I couldn't describe myself that way anymore. And half of the stuff was still there, and it was still strongly there. And I thought, what's the difference between the two? And the difference was the ones that were gone were the ones that I just thought about at that moment, brought consciousness to, and they shifted. The ones that had stayed were the ones that became a should, that became a you need to, that became a you had to, that had the voice in my head, that critical voice in my head talking at that habit. And then that was it. That would just stick it in place. And even after that, I was scared to give up that critical voice, right? Even when I found out how abusive it was, I was scared. And the reason I was scared was because I didn't want to become the fat slob on the couch watching Cops. And I thought without that voice, that's clearly going to happen. But I decided to start questioning it. And what I found was that it all is reflected really clearly in kids. Kids that are raised with that very critical voice, kids that are told that they're not okay just as they are, that they need to be different to be lovable. Those kids, what happens to them is that they become the thing they're told not to be. They become that. Like, so if you say, Johnny, you're naughty, you're naughty, you're naughty, stop being naughty, Johnny's going to become naughty, or he's going to become neurotically not naughty, right? And when Johnny grows up to be a supervisor or a CEO or a manager, the entire company is going to have that same structure, right? The whole company is going to be naughty that way, or whatever they were told to be or to not be. And there's not going to be the flexibility in that person to meet the market or to change with the times or to manage people differently depending on who they are. And so then when you look at the other side of it, like kids who were raised in a way that was like they had their boundaries and they were told certain behaviors weren't okay, but they were basically told, hey, you're good just the way you are. You don't have to do anything. And I don't mean like, great job, great job. I just mean given that respect that you're fine just the way that you are. And those kids come up very confident, very flexible, very expressive. And that's what happens when the voice inside of our head starts to be quiet, becomes gentle, becomes loving. The same thing happens to us. And that's what we're doing at Groundbreakers. We're questioning that voice in the head. We're taking apart that voice in the head, and we're making it something that is a far better expression of who we actually are and a more loving, more gentle thing. And it's not easy work. It is clearly something that's going to just come right up against your identity. And just like a kid giving new rules or new, like Johnny, you're not naughty anymore, doesn't mean that Johnny immediately becomes unnaughty. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it's emotionally difficult. But if you want that in your life and you're up for the challenge, then I say come to Groundbreakers and make it happen for yourself.